This. Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey ha ya hey ya hey ha ya hey hey yo Fort Beck Community College Ukiepino yo Me too gashi dagush kashka Yogi piano yo Wata pevi hagik tabi Ichachia ya bino Hey yo Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey ya hey yo Fort Beck Community College Ukiepino yo Me too gashi dagush kashka Yogi piano yo Wata pevi hagik tabi Ichachia ya bino Hey yo Hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey ya hey ha ya hey yo Fort Beck Community College Ukiepino yo Me too gashi dagush kashka Yogi piano yo Wata pevi hagik tabi Ichachia ya bino Hey yo Hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo Fort Peck Community College Ukiepino yo Me too gashi dagush kashka Yogi piano yo Wata pevi hagik tabi Ichachia ya bino Hey yo
Hau mitakuyapi, Yushkio Chian Kampi, Chantewastea, Yuhana Pe Chiuzapido. Elijah Hopkins Demie, Ake, Wanawak, Chinjawak Pa, Wonspe Wankantuya, Dechia, Diana Hipido, Mitakuyapi. Hello, relatives, again. Welcome to the Buffalo Chasers podcast series. I'm Elijah Hopkins, again, joined with Dekshi. Mr. Tommy Christian is in the house. We're coming at you live streaming to you live from Fort Peck Community College. And again, we thank you for joining us today. We are at week number 37 of our podcast series every Thursday from 3 to 4. And before we get started on the announcements and I guess the topic at hand, I'd ask Nekshi if you would share a prayer with us if you are able. Pidama.
Oh, can you hear me, Toshka?
Oh,
head to a whoopila chichiapelo. Like, how mitake pidaya ya hippie. Kambe tukile michante tao waglake na hana pe chuzapelo. Ohe chajemi tao wamnisha ge doba ima chapi. Daya ya hippie ake. All my relatives again, Hushimala Omakia, as we would check you out for the sake of others, and of course, understanding the importance that the respect based on the integrity of who we are as a people that precipitates from the foundation of our belief system, our spiritual perspective coming from natural law. We always try to consider that in a good way, and we'll kind of follow up on that today in this particular hour of discussion that we have. And again, remember, we do this because we're archiving what it is that we're doing, wishing to create a library, but at the same time, maintaining that respect that this virtual experiencing is affording us as a common people, just to kind of keep it in perspective. So my relatives, if you will help me at this time to go to what your belief system consists of and what it's based on, you need to help me out so that we can share these good, kind words with this spiritual energy, the strength that's up there that provides us with goodness. And so we're going to ask that on y'all's behalf. Okay, omakia mitakiapi. Atukashila na wakantaka tatewia doba unchi makana makain. Nako mitakiapi wanagi makpea ktayage. Ho choka ekta hiopo. Ni chope. Ushia keni takiapi unchi makao manina. Wayazapi ota naha unsha keni dakiapi unchima kalmani chante ioksija omani owi chakia po ushi wichalapo atukashila na wakantanka owi chakia po mitakiapi na won spekia hemita we nukchalapi na we chachalapi naha wankaya japi hokshilapi na we chinchalapi na kuskapi na we kuskapi Chanku washte upi, we chose ani upi hechana, we chakiapo, ushi we chalapo. Atukashila na wakantanka gixiapo mitakiapi, agichita uyateki zuya ekta, uchasha bile, uiapile na hachanku washte upi. Atukashila na wakantanka wopila chicha na ha makaju wana u betitualo. Na hadaya chano he ha he washtel lila washte atukashila na wakantanka oyante oyansi chankuluta aga omani owi chakiapo ushu chalapo chewi chashamialo dagunis langwaish ni naha omakia naha wachekia chante washte ambe tukile naha Yapi washte mitakia pinaha ambetukele ushianke ho mitakia oasi wamakashka oasi ho.
Padama Dex. Beautiful prayer again. Thank you for sharing with us. So relatives, week 37, and what we try to do every week is to incentivize participation, whether you're student, employee, community member, local, or you're on the other side of the earth, wherever you're joining us from. You can follow us on this live stream every week. And so if you give us a like, you give us a share, put something in that comment section, you put your name in the hat for our weekly drawing. And so I'll announce the winners for last week's episode, week 36. Usually we try to have a jacket and then also a tablet. So the week 36 winners for a Cho FPCC jacket is none other than Tristan Iron Star. Winner chicken dinner. Congratulations, Tristan Iron Star. We also have a tablet, a Kindle Fire tablet. The winner of that, to brush up on my pronunciation here, Vu Huyan, I believe is how you say it. Winner. chicken dinner. Congratulations, Vu and Tristan. You can redeem these prizes at Student Services, the War Eagle Vision Building in Poplar, or you can call the phone number there, which is 406-768-6370, and you can make arrangements. If you don't live locally, they can mail those items out to you. So again, winner chicken dinner, both of you. Get a hold of us at the college and redeem your prizes. So for the issue at hand, one other announcement. So tomorrow, Fort Peck Community College is co-hosting the Wild West Days Kids Day event. And so I'm not sure the exact time on that one, but there's Kids Day is the event. And so if you want a burger, a hot dog, bring your kids down. Everyone's a winner. There's all kinds of kids games. I think there's like golf and different things and whatnot. So if you have some kids, bring them on down, and the college will definitely hook them up. They all have different prizes and whatnot. And so also classes started for the second session, and for the fall semester 2021, registration is open. So if you have any questions about that, you can give us a call over at Student Services. Call 406-768-6370. And if you're curious just about what we have to offer, the course schedule should be online. Just go to fpcc.edu, click on top up there. There's some little drop-down windows. One says student and academics. Either one of those will take you there. And it says academic course schedule for the spring semester and one for the fall semester. So if you click on that, that'll kind of give you an idea of what we have to offer. But I would highly recommend that you check out the different offerings that we have, because in addition to the academic side of it, there's many other things. Last year, all of our students were eligible that were degree seeking and were at least 6 credits. So basically 2 classes, and pick a degree. It doesn't matter what degree. Even if you don't know what degree that is, just pick general studies. And by doing so, that enables you to put your name in that for all kinds of different funding options. Then we're able to do different things like hook you up with laptops, hook you up with internet, emergency aid. I mean, there's really a lot that we try to do for our students, and not many institutions are able to provide some of those services. And so I'm just kind of sharing some of these things because Dekshi, he's on a call right now. He'll join us very shortly. And then also Dekshi Earl is unable to join us. There's some things he's got going on right now, but next week Earl will definitely be back with us. But as far as college announcements, those are some important things. What else do we got going on here? Oh, also the first week of August, we do have a couple students. There's 3 of you that are with us on the Zoom call. But for any of us, you don't have to be a student. There's some workshops that we got going on. The first week of August is quilling. For those of you that know what quilling is, porcupine quills, that's one of our traditional art forms, how we decorated many of our articles of clothing and whatnot. But that's one of those lost arts that we're trying to revive at the college here. And so there's a community member that kind of specializes in that. And so we received this grant, and there was one of 4 different cultural arts that we decided to bring back, attempt to. So it's going to be a 2-day workshop that first week in August. We got to lock down the exact date, but probably a Monday, Tuesday. And as long as you just sign up, it doesn't cost anything, totally free. Just got to fill out a registration form that will be out shortly, and we provide all of the supplies. Okay, so if you're local, check it out. But if you live outside of the area, we do have housing available. So just be on the lookout for that. And then the next week, we have drumming. Okay, we have a how to make a drum, and Earl Bullhead, he's our co-host here usually. He is a renowned powwow singer, lead singer for Ikchewi Chasha. Man, I was jamming to his CD yesterday with Next. Man, he's a powwow singer. Kind of that's what his forte is, and so he has a all the history of the drum and what that means to Ocheti Shakoi and that history. And so I'd highly encourage you to check that out. Even if you're not able to participate in the full 3-day workshop, you'll get an idea of the construction, the history, and I'll even try and make it available via Zoom. We'll try and have a video cam in, and that way you can kind of join and listen to Dexy Earl kind of explain that. And then by the end of that workshop, we have a legit drum. There's that, and then we also have bow making. Tahanshi Jeremy Redigo will be joining us, I think, in August for a 2-3-day workshop. And then later on, we have hide panning. I still got to identify somebody to do that, but we'll, those are all workshops. They're not academic courses. You could be in high school, you could be wherever, but definitely check that out. So,
did you mention gumdrops?
Gumdrops. I didn't do a name drop, but Gumdrops, otherwise known as Laverne White Bear, will be facilitating the quilling workshop that first week in August. So, man, I did my best to stall, Dex. I'm glad you're back with us. But we talked about some cultural arts, but so yeah, wherever you want to take it.
Oh, hey, my relatives, again, we're going to welcome you to our podcast. You want to check us out, look us up on YouTube, Buffalo Chasers Podcast, and has them all in order there. All the weeks that we've been going on, they're all on there. So check it out. You want to learn a little bit about the value system, which we talk about. And again, remember, we initiated this under the auspice of COVID-19 because, again, we wanted to maintain some connection with our people, understanding the importance of that. But at the same time, we want to take advantage of this opportunity to develop and create a library for those that are seeking resources or whatever and all that. So we haven't told anybody what to do, but we definitely shared a lot of information just to kind of take advantage of that opportunity to really promote critical thinking. And we think that's key and first and foremost as it relates to those young people that are going out and as a result of their influences from kindergarten up to the 12th grade, and after they graduate, post high school, stuff that they're going to pursue, be it a vocation or academics or anything like that. We just like to help you out, help you understand the importance of that, taking on that responsibility of being a critical thinker and taking control of you and manifesting your own destiny as it relates to some of the information that we share. So that's the reason for that. But it also helps you understand the importance of how we can maintain that connection for the sake of our human needs. We need to socialize. We need to visit. We need to talk. We need to enjoy, tell stories. We had Johnny Lee on here. Oh man, that lady really understands lots about what it is that we do, but at the same time continues to live as a individual from the reservation, that duality of how society lives now in a white man's world or in a linear world as it compared to one that we live in almost every day, an abstract world where that addresses the importance of experiential teaching. And I say that because not alienating, but helping people to realize the inclusivity that we're approaching, that we try to contend with all the time, but because our value system is based on Changleshka, that circle of life and all that good stuff, and that's total inclusion of everything. Wamakashka. In the Lakota language, that means all of the creation of this higher energy, the spiritual energy, all the creation, including the plants, the bugs, the winged, the four-legged, and of course the two-legged. So we include all of that, understanding the importance of pursuing our purpose and dedication through the protocol that we choose to follow. That's learned as we go along if we're interested in that. So as we do this, I just wanted to help you all understand we're missing the third musketeer. Hey, next. Was that the third turtle? Oh.
The third stooge.
Yeah. But no, I just got off the phone with him earlier. I was talking with him throughout the day, and we was kind of we was throwing some ideas around and whatnot. But he he's got an injury to his ribs, you know, and you can't really fix them. You got to just let them heal. And here he was in such pain, he took a pill. And I said, "Oh man, don't take a pill. You'll get Inkto or Wheatco, one or the other."
So,
But anyway, he took a pill to kind of make himself a little bit more, make the
Relax.
pain a bit more endurable. Yeah, and and here it kind of made him a little bit dingy. He said, "Oh, I don't want to go out, bro." He said, "I might get off track and say something." I said, "Inkto money." No, I said, "That's all right. Well, I'll explain it to them." But he's under medication, and so he'll be back with us next week for sure. He said he should be all right by then. But that's where our Nietzsche Ole Chia Mitcha, that's where he's at. So, but yeah, I'm sure he's listening in and all that good stuff. So it's always good to have him on here. But just me and Toshka will be kind of running it today. So hopefully we won't bore you. But again, as we do these things, as we pursue this perspective of being a human, eh? Lakota e macha tukehia, Lakota wa macha tukehia. You're an Indian first, I'm an Indian first. And then, of course, people get kind of some way about that statement because they're not really saying Indian, they're saying human being. So if you can kind of include that and understanding, and what we're sharing here is just based on natural law for the sake of inclusivity. We're not hypocrites, but we want to maintain a sense of consistency as it relates to some of these things we're doing, and to not confuse anybody. That's the main thing. We're trying to provide a perspective of clarity so that we don't get afraid of one another, eh? When somebody's different, the first thing we do is we get on the defense and to protect our own, but we don't need to do that when we explain what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so that's kind of the basis of why we started this out. And of course, with the graciousness and the generosity of AICF, we've had an opportunity to kind of bring this forward to our students that came from COVID-19. And again, just like to thank Debbie, his horses thunder, for kind of managing this thing, helping us understand the importance of that. And evidently, it's impacting a lot of people, not only here on our reservation, but I dare say internationally, because I was talking to a couple of my brothers this morning as well, as it relates. What are you guys going to talk about today? I said, I don't know. I have to ask Earl. But again, there's a lot of people that just observe it. They go on YouTube and they observe it. We don't get the algorithm from that, but at least we'll get the word out. And again, that this is all going to be archived, and we're going to create and develop a library. Toshka Elijah is working on a web page just for the cultural aspects of Fort Peck Community College. And again, I hate to keep using that word because I do it all the time for the sake of the legitimacy of who we are. Isn't that sad? We have to say that. But at the same time, we understand the void that's there. And again, we're not going against the system. We're trying to include and finesse the system so that they understand the importance of our belief system is also there. And many of us, many of our young people are getting more and more involved in that spiritual aspect of how we learn about these things, taking that critical thought and being intuitive in their manner, and deciding, well, I'm not going to be afraid. You know, they always say, with God on my side, who could be against me? Which is true, eh? With that the strongest spirit up there on your side, who can be against you? Nobody. Eh? Yeah, and I say that because a lot of people try to instill fear in you based on the devil or bad spirits or ghosts. And they call my grandpa and my grandma ghosts all the time. I don't know if they get mad, but those aren't ghosts. That's my grandma and grandpa. You know, and along that line of thinking, we look at them as helpers. They help us in tough situations. They give us that strength and We don't have to go out and tell everybody, oh, I want to thank my grandma and grandpa for helping me in a spiritual way, trying to prove how pious we are, eh? No, we just live it. We don't talk like that. And again, we feel that that's something that doesn't need to be said because we just live it. And as we live it, we recognize the support that we get from that spiritual world as it relates to the connection we've maintained. And when we maintain that connection to the spirit world, that helps us better understand the integrity of who we are as a people. Just because it's different doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. It's just different. And I keep saying this over and over, and you probably heard it in every podcast I've said, the diversity and the uniqueness of our cultural value system that precipitates from natural law should become an enhancement and enrichment for the sake of the growth of our children. And of course, our children are representing the future. And just like it was done for us. And they like the old people, and I said in my prayer that the old ladies and the old men that I hold dear to my hearts that were my teachers, uh, uh, that's what they did. They shared it with us in such a gracious manner. Eh? And if you understood me in my prayer, I also referred to the children, the young boys, the young girls, the young adult men, the young adult ladies as my teachers as well. Because based on observation, that purity or that innocence that they display is something that we aspire to as we continue to understand that preparation of getting ready to go beyond that fear of that mystery of death, but preparing for it. Eh? And so we're not inhibited as long as we continue to walk this red road of understanding in a respectful way. And so a lot of this learned behavior as it relates to antisocial behaviorisms, or if you want to call it dysfunction, you can, usually precipitates from something we refer to as colonialism, eh? And for some that works. For those that look at the capitalistic imperialism as their way of life and they've become good at it, you shouldn't hold them down for that. You should be able to say, well, that's them. That's what's good for them. I'm glad they're happy because that's what makes them happy. Eh? You should go to work happy and glad, eh? Not go to work grouchy because somebody stole your money or whatever. But again, that's kind of where we're going with this whole principle of coming forward, and that's why that inclusivity is important. As a traditional person, there's no avenue for me to be discriminatory or segregate or anything like that because we're totally inclusive. The white, black, red, and yellow doesn't really represent uh, people, if you will. It's a representation of that whole, eh? The holistic way of life. It should represent emotion, spirituality, physicality, and what's the other one? Oh,
Spiritual, physical,
what's the other two? Emotion.
mental, physical, emotional, spiritual.
Yeah, this four there, eh? Okay, yeah. But anyway, that's what it represents, really, not necessarily the different races of life, because we're all the same. And that's the way we look at it. And so we try to understand the importance of that going beyond the superficial, eh? But realizing, "Ampe tukile me chante etao agalake." On this day, I'm going to speak to you from my heart. When we speak from our heart, that's kind of the understanding that we're all the same. We all have a heart, every one of us. And however you choose to utilize that emotional tool that you have within you and how you apply that is what we're trying to share. And the reason I say that is because we refer to ourselves as Nakona, Dakota, Lakota. And when you define that, that means I'm your friend, I'm your ally, I will help you in times of need. And so that's the philosophical approach on that inclusivity as it relates to the Changleshka or the circle of life that will help us understand the key is to rid ourselves of that fear, but also remembering fear is instinctive. It's a survival technique, eh? So we have to keep it in perspective and respect that fear for the sake of either fight or flight. They kind of like that, not to deny it, but how we dispel that fear is we provide ourselves with an opportunity to achieve clarity. Because if you don't achieve that clarity, then what happens after fear is anger. What happens after anger is acts of violence, eh? And so we don't want to go there. So that's what I mean when I say we should really try to keep that in perspective as it relates to uh, what we're pursuing here in regards to ekchewi chasha, or just common people. We're just common people in the eyes of your higher power or your spiritual uh, hierarchy that exists there. Uh, they look at us. Nobody's better or worse. We're all the same, but it's up to us to put ourselves in a position that where we can become a positive force in within ourselves, within our family, within our tribe, within our community. But the choice is still there. That's where that the autocratic manner goes out the door. We're so used to being told what to do, as opposed to pursuing what's in our mind, in respects that our mind was given to us by a higher power that knew exactly what they were doing, and they didn't make any mistakes, I might add. But again, there's different levels of understanding that were provided to us too. But at the same time, we understand that when we do these things, when I'm your friend, I'm your ally, when I help you out in times of need, it's just like what my brother's name is, Nietzsche Ole, looking for the poor ones. Eh? That's what he shared with us. That's what his name meant. Or looking for the pitiful ones. And see that's very common amongst us, that I do what I do because I can, not because I have to. And a lot of people can't accept that. Instead, they burn themselves out, they give themselves heart attacks, they give themselves stress, all this additional stuff. But again, your purpose and your dedication is within you. I have a strong belief in genetic memory, and I believe that we're at a place in our life to where uh, you look at your legacy, your linealcy actually, and you'll see there's many strong women in there, represented by many strong men that will take on that attitude of warriorship. Eh? But what we fail to recognize is those strong warriors who fed them, who took care of them when they were sick, who took care of their families when they were gone away hunting or defending. Who did that? See? And so that's our attitude. And so that's why we revere and we regard our women folk so highly. Even though you call somebody a warrior, that warrior is representative of his family. Eh? And usually the matriarch of that family is a very strong woman. And again, that's where all of this goodness precipitates from, because usually the first 4 years of your life, you have nothing but women involved in your teachings. Eh? Parents are the first teacher, but in our culture, it's usually the women. Eh? Grandma, mom, auntie, sister, eh? They're the ones that care for the babies. Then once they get old enough, kind of walk around and hope Sheila. They're going all over trying to help all the time. Hope Sheila. That's where that comes from. And that's when they go to the men, the uncles, and again, you'll find that evidence of the women, because when they initially start talking, hey, like our language, we have women's talk and men's talk. When those young boys come, they usually talk like a woman, hey, until they understand the difference. Well, naturally, that applies as well as our young men and young women are not genderized until they're about maybe 6 or 7. They don't know what gender. It's not important to them what gender they are. Hey, think about it. Think about it in a natural way. Any child at that age, once they recognize the difference that exists there, it doesn't mean nothing to them. It doesn't apply. It's not an interest of theirs. It's only an interest to narcissistic, ego-fied men that don't want their kids to grow up gay. Oh, you see? And so what I'm saying there is, again, that's very small-minded thinking. But at the same time, we recognize the importance of being who you are, what you are, and asking the question why you are. And that affords you a good uh, opportunity to pursue such things as the spiritual way of life, of living, as it relates to that abstract learning process. And again, at the same time, recognizing the duality of man, not necessarily of man, but the duality of our society in pursuing a linear opportunity and take advantage of this intellectual idealism that's really promoted out there. And I say that because, again, my nephew here, Coach Guy Elijah, is pursuing a doctorate. He's married to a young lady that's one of my nieces that is already has a Juris Doctorate in law. And so education to them is important, but at the same time, you see what we're trying to do is to balance that out so that they can apply that abstract learning as well, and they stay well connected. Both feet are on the ground. They don't go all out and try to become holy people or popes or priests, but they understand the importance of that sense of identity. And again, that's what this whole process is all about. And I keep thinking about, boy, it's sure cool how this thing all worked out for the sake of this education that is kind of dealt with in a different manner. And I hope that these institutions of academia will recognize the importance of that inclusiveness of something that should be important to them, and that's a cultural value system. Not Indian culture, any culture. And because one of the things that I think that really makes our non-Indian relatives afraid is they don't have a basis or a foundation to develop from, eh? And so a lot of times uh, they get kind of chania or now wheezy uh, about Indians holding on to their culture, but not all non-Indians are like that. For instance, I always utilized the Jewish people as somebody that has maintained their culture. They have their own language, they have their own protocol, they have their own belief system, they have their own, they protect their bloodline, and that's all accepted. Think about that now. That's all we're doing as well. And so, as we do these things, you realize the importance of a cultural value system that should be promoted with this intellectual perspective and again, this experiential teaching perspective, and bring that together, especially if you're going to work with or for or against Indians. No, not against, I'm just teasing. But again, that helps us understand that we can go beyond that fear. We don't have to be perpetuating this attitude of discrimination, segregation, and Tule Creek, even the Assiniboines and the Sioux at one time were led to believe that they need to be separated, and that's not even true. And you'll find that in stories that you hear about the old people. We used to help each other. I don't know what happened, but based on a contemporary whatever, they separated. But we need to come back together. And a lot of people, once you listen to the old stories, Lila Hehane Dacho Nacho Gichi na Wowasi, they used to work together, eh? Uh, the Dakota and the Nakona used to work together all the time. But based on some of these things, that information ability separated. Didn't get to visit their relatives as much. I don't know if you ever heard about the skidoo on the railroad track. That used to be a little train that would come by and take their relatives from one end of the reservation to the other, so they would visit. But once that was done away with, they couldn't really visit as much as they would like to. And I think that separation, based on our ability to communicate, was kind of lost in a little bit. And I think that's what developed on some of these insecure approaches to who and what we were as a people. But that's just my perspective. I'm not trying to convince you or influence you, but give you some food for thought as it relates to contending with some of these differences that exist. And there's no reason to be afraid of them, but go out and pursue them. Indians and non-Indians, eh? They have a Christian perspective and a traditional perspective. Hey, no sense in getting political about it, but just stand fast on what your moral and ethical value system is based on when you make a decision. Hey, yeah. And in that, don't worry about what anybody else is saying. If that's what's holding your feet to the ground, say more power to you. But at the same time, are we going out and we really participating in the manner in which we should, based on whatever your belief system consists of? And so that's what I mean when I say moral or ethical values as it relates to your decisions in your life and how you deal with things. And through that, are you consistent with that as well as you can? Not as well as they tell you to, but as well as you can, because we're all limited in our ability to help out. And that's purposeful, because we realize we can't do it alone. We need to come together and enjoy this goodness that's here in a good way with everybody. And so that's what, when we say spiritual energy, wakantanka, or whatever, wowishape, or wowakan, that spiritual energy that's out there, that strength that's there for us, we need to recognize it. When you speak from your heart and you act from your heart and you do things from your heart, oh man, it comes out in such a positive way, because it's of this higher power. It's of what you would call God. It's of what you would refer to as the creator, not to get any self-righteousness in there. But again, that's how common we are. That's how same we are. The same, SAME. That's how much of the same we are. And so in respects to that, that's kind of what we're wishing to pursue. So if we forget about the history, we're condemned to repeat it again. We want to remember that history, the good stuff, eh? Like, and we practice it all the time. Like when we go to a funeral, we all say, please don't speak bad of those that have passed on, because they're not there to defend themselves. But you exercise that value so that you can speak good for the sake of others that are listening to you for future things. So when you go, they'll speak good of you, eh? I don't know if they speak good about me, but but anyway, Toshka, I don't know. But, there's some of these things that are addressing some of these issues of concern, especially during COVID, and that was that mental health issue. There's issues out there now, as I talk to my relatives throughout Indian country and throughout the United States and Canada, that this COVID-19, what do they call it? COVID-19, what do they call it? Syndrome or something like that.
Virus.
It's like a syndrome. It's anxiety. That's the word I'm looking for. COVID-19 anxiety syndrome. That's what it is. That's affecting a lot of people, even those that got vaccinated. It's still affecting them because of how they think. But if you continue to understand, you're doing everything as well as you can in a responsible manner, not only for yourself but for the sake of others. Wearing a mask, staying social distance, whatever the case may be, even though you're vaccinated, you can still live your life to some degree of what it used to be. Maybe not as freely as you like, but at the same time, you could still get out there and enjoy the naturalness of this and all that good stuff. But that COVID-19 anxiety syndrome, if it affects you, that's what this does. It addresses that mental health aspect of what this pandemic has done to us. And I think, boy, I don't know if we slopped out or whatever, but I think those that participated and listened to our podcast, I think that helps them deal with that syndrome a little bit better as it relates to their mental health and understanding, oh, those guys think like me. Oh, those guys are talking about what I'm worried about. Yes, we are. And again, that brings up the next point of remaining apolitical and apersonal. Okay? So there's not an agenda that we're pursuing as it relates to Elijah or myself or anybody in particular, but just to help one another out as human beings with the attitude of inclusivity, and to really kind of share this love, if you will. Every time I talk with my brothers or my family members, I always share with them, I love you. There was a time when I couldn't say that, eh? And so in that, it's really different to sincerely share that word with others, eh? And so like me, like if it's my relatives and my adopted relatives, I always end my conversation with I love you, my bro, I love you, sis, or I love you, mom, I love you, dad. Because again, that's promoting, that's that little part of uh, participating in something that's really, really important and special to sharing that positivity amongst the people so they can recognize your character, you're courageous enough, you're brave enough to bring that out and not be afraid to share it, eh? What do you think about that, Toshka? I'll let you kind of share your thoughts a little bit.
Man, that was a beautiful recap. But I'm looking at my phone and they said the tornado is coming. So I don't know if we gotta not to sound the alarms, but that's just what my phone said. There's a watch. I'm not trying to freak anybody out, but we might have to button down your teepee over there. But I know it's this weather. The thing I was thinking about with the weather change, everything warming up, getting outside, super important part of our mental health. There's some different events the college is doing, like fun runs, the wellness center. I want to encourage people to participate in that, even if you're not if you're not in like running shape, just go out for a walk.
Yeah.
Like I was visiting with Dexy Tommy here the other day about maybe different places where we go pick some things, some medicines like sage,
Yeah.
pejijota. That's something anybody can do. If you're interested, hit us up over here at the college because we're going to be trying to gather some up and go out into the hills. And it's probably about ready to pick, huh? Definitely
Get
with all this
close.
weather
Yeah.
and all this rain, man. And I noticed everything just starting to sprout up good. So then turnip
Yeah.
seasons is right around the corner. So we want to document all this stuff, and that's part of that experiential learning. And I think I don't know about you, Dex, but I'm vaccinated up. You can't hold me back from getting out there. And but I think definitely we want to encourage the community members, especially our students, to take part in this. And what else here? So you did cover what we got going on this summer. I think later on in July we have the Tribal College, American and College Fund is hosting a summer camp. We're going to be part of that along with Superman, a few other entertainers. And I'm just like the IT guy, but man, I'm really excited to listen to all those gentlemen like yourself, and Dexy Earl. And I keep on waiting for Dexy Earl's songs coming out. That has me on the edge. We have a Buffalo Chasers song that he's composed. So that's really going to be cool. So we're going to interject that into the beginning of our broadcasting every week. So, yeah, no, I don't hardly have anything else to add on to that. I know we're kind of getting to the end. We got about another 10 minutes. So whatever else you want to.
Yeah, and if there's any questions, any concerns, put them on your chat, and then Toshka will kind of convey them to us. But like every time I hear my brother, Tatanka Doba Naji Hunga Hude Shabi Oyateke, when he starts off our little thing here, oh man, that just brings back so many good memories. I know I spoke about this before, but again, he was one of the teachers. He afforded me a lot of things to do. He gave me the right to speak in front of audiences. He took me under his wing, and they used to tell me, he said, hey, Tommy, you sound just like Robert Forster. Oh, thank you. They were trying to put me down, but I said, thank you. God,
Pinama.
yeah. But and like he give me that right, and with the ceremony, hey, he give me that right to step up, and a lot of times we lose sight of the importance of that protocol that has been taught by older people. For instance, the owl dance, eh? The owl dance in the wintertime, it would go on during a Gahominy, because the Indians would gather in the winter, they'd do social dancing on the inside, and the owl dance was one that where you really the aunties would get up and they talk good about their nieces, what they did, what their accomplishments were, and all that, and then they'd pay the committee some money for giving them that opportunity to have a little bit giveaway, but they'd ask that niece to come down, and then whoever your buddy is, bring him too. You guys can dance, and that was the owl dance, and the same thing would apply to the men. The uncles would get up there, they would talk good about their nephews, and then they'd invite his buddy down, his partner down. Come on down and dance with your partner and all your friends. Come and dance with them, and they'd invite them out there. And it's not to show them off, but it's so people could recognize those that were doing good things, not only for themselves, but for their family and especially for their communities. And they were showing them so you could see who you could depend on. Hey, mitake piwachinia pelo. They always say that your relatives are depending on you. Well, how are they going to depend on you if they don't know who you are? Hey, like the acknowledgement of valedictorian, salutatorian. You know, I was teasing when I said I don't know what that means, but it does mean whoever has the highest grade point average. And then the second one is the salutatorian. But, uh, you know, like my son was one of those valedictorians when he graduated from high school, and they made fun of him at the tribal council because they said, no, he's just getting this because you're his dad and you pushed this. And then the education department come in and made up a big lie about me, and which was totally untrue. But that's the way they treated us Indians. But I never said nothing back. And the reason with that is because I didn't want to disrespect my son and his accomplishments. I didn't want to add to that negativity. But oh man, they exploited that situation, you know, big time. And that's sad that adults would do something like that, hey? But no, it's something we learn from. I know my son did, and so he doesn't expect anything for the way he is, and so in that he's my tech guy now. He does all the technical stuff for me, so I appreciate him that much. Anyway, but he's making it work for him without uh, me helping him. I guess you would say it in that sense, and you know, but that's the politicization of things like that, and that's what it does to us. Well, that's why we choose to remain apolitical or apersonal in this spiritual perspective. That's why there's the separation of church and state in a political arena, and you put that together, and then you recognize how important that is as it relates to your moral and your ethical value system. See how that works? See how it fits? Kind of fits.
Oh, sounds good. Good fit. Good. You raised a good point, though. I think and it's worthy of explaining a little bit more. Is like what you talked about with your son, and we would call that like lateral violence, crab in the bucket, whatever you want to call that, right? And I think that's part of you. And you also talked earlier about the COVID-19 syndrome, whatever people are, you know, being reluctant to want to, you know, get out of their homes and whatnot. And so when you take the lateral violence, it's already been in some of our communities for generations now, and you put in the COVID. Sometimes these individuals, they're reluctant to want to come out and do things and engage with people just because people say things. They didn't do anything wrong. It's like, why would you want to get involved in something if you're just going to get ripped up, you know, and get your name thrown around? So I think that's part of what our mission here with our podcasting, with the college in general, you know, but especially with our podcasting, some of these avenues that we're trying to create for our students to participate in hopefully what we're trying to create is a non-political environment, and then encourage people to step forward, you know, to even just participate. Doesn't mean you're going to be, you know, a Tantra leader, but you're just for your own development, your own mental health. It's important to just engage and not recluse, you know. And I think this time of the year, and I think I'd like to think that we were creating these opportunities for people to start doing them now. So
you see, Toshka, that participation, especially in an environment like that, is representative of the courage that you have, the character that you've developed. You overcome that pettiness for the sake of others. Hey, is that cool or what?
Heck yeah. And there's resources. We're here to help you. You know, I remember you're talking about Wamakash Gadobi Naj Tonga Dobi Naj Hunga. He was one of those individuals. People mischaracterized him by things that he would say because of his disposition publicly. But there was times when he's one of the first individuals to encourage me to sing, and because he was a professional singer too, you know, and he would recognize when you were. We use that term, but you know, like when you needed that, he would recognize that because you know he's been there, you know, and then whether you're singing, wherever it was, he would encourage you. He was one of those individuals that was strong enough to recognize it and encourage people. And then even some of our leadership today, the younger people, those are the ones that he's kind of helped groom them up. And so I think that individuals like yourself and Earl are key to our younger people coming in and having that connection to encourage them to do things in this type of environment. So that's the only thing I wanted to add to that, because it's super important. You bring that up every week, but sometimes some of us, we think that some of the students might already know that, but sometimes they might not. I just wanted to, for the sake of discussion, bring that up again. So
like you're talking about the character of my brother, Tatanka Doba Naji, also known as Robert P. Forstar. When I lost my first son in Canada, we gathered about 6.5 hours north of here in a place called Shellbrook. He was the first one, him and Oliver and Will Kern were the first ones that came up there to see me and to console me. My brother, for the love that I have for him and the respect that I showed him. He was the first one there. He wasn't just talking it, he walked it. And they drove all that way just to come and make sure that I was okay. And if I needed anything, and before he left, he prayed for us. And the man was very blessed with an ability, a healing ability, eh? And so, again, that's why I always have good thoughts for my brother. And I know he's in a good place and he's looking after us and in his own gruff way, eh? Oh, he's talked up to me all the time. But one time I had to tell him, Robert, I'm going to bust you right in the face. What are you going to hit me for? He said. I said, every time you sing that song, I said, you just make me cry. I want to make you cry too. But that was our relationship, eh? And people didn't understand it, but that's okay. I would never disrespect my brother in any form or fashion, but it just brings up such good, beautiful memories of some of the teachers I've had based on their ability to share in such a gracious manner, eh? Even though it's kind of gruff sometimes. I loved it. I enjoyed it.
And there was reasons for that too. Maybe that's even a different conversation. There was, I think, some of those traditional societies that some of those people belong to.
Yeah.
They just didn't compartmentalize them in the ceremony. They still lived them.
Yeah.
Those attributes, and I think sometimes people without that understanding, they confuse them for being some way or whatever. But anyways, it looks like we're at the top of the hour. Dex, do you have any closing comments or?
Well, no, just that I'm hoping that our audience will continue to grow and we'll get out there. And you want to check out the podcast, just go to Buffalo Chasers Podcast on YouTube. It'll come up and you'll get to view all of our past weeks that we've done this. And again, it's an understanding. It's nothing that's going to tell you anything, but we'll share with you. And then when we got Earl involved in a lot of good historical things were shared by Earl, and he has many, many, many more stories to share with us. And again, just I think it's sad for those that don't have an opportunity to be guided in this way. That's why we mention our teachers all the time, those that supported us, those that have that character based from a cultural perspective, as well as, and I just might add, Robert P. had a bachelor's in business administration. I believe he carried a bachelor's, although he was the chief of the Red Bottom people. He was also educated. So it's stuff like that a lot of people don't know about because we don't brag on stuff like that. but we just we understand and realize the importance of that understanding, not necessarily the knowledge, but they carry it together in such a common way. So I just wanted to share that with you based on the principle of our philosophical approach, what I call an ideological paradigm shift. Remember the paradigms?
Oh, take those 2 dimes and you just kind of slide them. That paradigm shift.
Oh, hecho.
Oh, again, relatives, we're at the close of the week 37 of our Buffalo Chasers podcast. We'll be here all summer long. Continue to check in with us every week. We try and have a different topic, but everything always ties into our previous discussions related to mental health. So I want to thank Dekshi for joining us. And Earl will be back again. The 3 Musketeers will be back better than ever. So again, relatives, have a great day. Doksta kewachia kapikte. Petu washte hapo.
Oh, okay.
Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey ha ya hey ya Fort Beck Community College, Ukiepino, yo, me too, Gashi, Dagush, Kashka, Iyogi, no, yo, Wata, Pepe, Agi, Tabi, Ihachi, ya, Bino, hey, yo, hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya Fort Beck Community College, Ukiepino, yo, me too, Gashi, Dagush, Kashka, Iyogi, no, yo, Wata, Pepe, Agi, Tabi, Ihachi, ya, bino, hey.